Well, a pleasant good morning to you all out there in the world. Hello from our small little slice of the universe here on the campus of Central Washington University. In Ellensburg, Washington, USA. That stands for United States of America. No big deal. Looks like we're loud and clear. Garrett, the Dutch Not Owl from the Netherlands, reports that, among many others. Thank you for the quick trigger on that report. Let's, not much to look at outside. We're a few minutes before the classes change. So let's get inside. Oh, there's a bicycle. Oh, there's bicycles here in the States. Interesting. So interesting. So interesting, in fact, I'm saying good morning to you all. This is a live stream inside of a classroom, a geology classroom, Geology 351. Here on campus, and this is the last day of school, the last day of the quarter for us here in 351. Starting a couple minutes earlier than usual, wanted to get a chance to check in with you, say a few extra words to you, and we'll then let the room fill in with souls. Where are you viewing from today on June 5th of 2025? And yes, if you're watching a replay, we're going to start the lecture in about 12 minutes from now. You can skip ahead 12 minutes to get to the start of the program. Marysville, Washington. Letha Lee is always here, it seems. Hello, Letha Lee. Culver City, California. Hamelin, Germany. James Gennaro IV is live from New Mexico. James? Indigo misses you. We all miss you. Thank you, James, for tuning in live. You're a good student. Maybe on your lunch break there. James, can you type in and remind everybody what you're doing down there in New Mexico and how come you are not in class today and all of this week, as a matter of fact? I'm down here to live. Tri-Cities, Washington, Petaluma, California, Najira, Spain. Hello, Bernadette. Post Falls, Idaho, Portland, Oregon, Orangevale, California, Portland, Oregon, Tagish, Yukon Territories. Hi, Doug. Dennis is in Cobb, Connecticut. Barbara is in Indiana. Freddie and Nancy in Dallas, Texas. Good day. Elaine is in New Mexico. Bo says, good often, Nick. Copenhagen, Denmark. Ben reports that James is a good student. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Saber is home. Hello, Saber. Hello, Saber. Olympia, Washington, Albany, Oregon, Elko, Nevada, Alvord Desert and Basin and Range, Oregon, says Kathleen Myers. Olympia, Washington, Baltimore, Maryland. You're telling me we're loud and clear, huh? I keep losing my necklaces. I have my cute little necklaces. I'm on my third one. I don't know what I've done with the other two. I literally get done with you here and then I go on a field trip or I leave the building and I'm walking downtown and somebody goes, what's with your necklace? I'm like, oh, forgot to take it off. So these things are all over town, I guess, but I like a little safety pin to keep this in place. And it's the last time we'll be doing this gig for a while. Baja, BC, is it possible? Inquiring minds want to know, says Greater Good. Hans is in Oegstgeest, the Netherlands. Skagit Ed is now in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. Gary Paul is back from his Scotland and Iceland trip. He's still trying to get acclimated to being back here on the west coast of North America. I don't expect to see Gary today, but sounds like he had a great trip. Wes is in Chelmsford, England. Dave is in Corvallis, Oregon. Very good. Okay. Let me say a couple final kind of introductory comments to you all before we just let the room populate naturally. I want to thank you sincerely for being part of this Geology 351 experience. It's been an experiment to live stream from the classroom using chalkboards. And I know that it's a different viewing experience than the other things that I've done. I rarely am looking into the camera and talking directly to you like I normally do in other programs, right? And it's a different version of me talking to juniors and seniors in a geology class. I have expectations for them. And so the edge that I have and the snark that I have on occasion is off-putting, I think, to some of you. But I feel like it's an appropriate approach, and it's the approach that I like. And it's the approach that I always brought the best out of me when I was a student. So I'm just commenting that this is a mixture of familiar and unfamiliar, which is kind of the hallmark of what I've been doing the last 5 years. I just try new things, but I don't want to be totally different than normal, so I make sure we have enough of the old routines, and then I toss in a couple of new things. So the new thing has been to try to stimulate old-fashioned classroom discussions, and it's worked. For more than half of the students, it has worked. So you've been along for many of these, and I appreciate you for tuning in live. We are going outside. It's going to be pushing 90 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon, and then if you were with us on Tuesday, you know that I'm having everybody over in the backyard with the frogs and Bijou and the oak trees and the yellow pens, and we're going to have some wine, courtesy of many of you who have sent in bottles of wine over the last year. Wine is a no-no in our house these days because of what we went through this past winter. So I have bonus amounts of wine that normally would be consumed at home, but that's not the case now for our health. So we will toast to their health, the students, as well as your health. Here's to you. It's been a while since we've done this. A premature toast. Here's to you. Here's to your health. Here's to the health of your family and your friends, near and far. And here's to all of us reconvening at some point in the next few months. But today's the last day of a tight schedule. So we're celebrating today. Okay, thanks. We will begin in 5 minutes or so. So give you a shot of the chalkboards here real quick, I guess, if you want to be an excellent student. Rainbows and butterflies. Nick, why? Why so early? Nick, why so early? Nick.
My boss said I should go. She was like, how much time do you have left? I was like, 15 minutes. She's like, oh, it's not yet. So.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
So lonely today. So lonely today, Austin. What's going on? What the heck? Come on.
On Tuesday, I was getting my hair done, and I mentioned that I was a geology major, and the person that was her little daughter was getting her hair done, and like she was there, she was like, oh, "Are you in mixed one?"
Whoa.
Because I'm like, yeah, if you remember that.
No.
She went to your winter, like her talks.
Wow.
They call you Nick Rocks.
Nick Rocks.
Yeah, because they watch your channel and they watch the live streams.
Cool. How old is this young person?
Oh, she's probably 5.
Oh, really?
Adorable.
Ah, fun. Thank you.
So that was funny.
Mm-hmm. Ryan?
How's it going?
Okay, what's the difference between
Arkansas.
a piano, a tuna, and a stick of glue?
What's the difference between a piano, a tuba, and a tuna and a stick of glue?
Like a can of tuna?
Like a can of tuna, or
What's the difference
what's the difference
between a
between a piano?
tuna and a stick of glue?
You can't tune a stick of glue.
You can tune a piano, but you can't piano a tuna. Did I say that right?
I love that joke. I'm going to tell that to everybody. I don't get it.
I knew you'd get stuck on that.
Oh!
Julie, good
Oh! Wow!
I'm stealing that.
Oh, that. You played it perfectly. I was about to leave. I was disgusted. I was leaving your area. Oh, that was. And what did Indigo say? I don't get. What about the stick of glue?
What does the glue have to do
What
with
does the glue have to do with it? I knew you'd get stuck on that. Oh, damn.
Good one.
Oh, perfect delivery, too. Oh, wow. Yeah, I was about to go talk to the home crowd about how lame you are, Julie. Nice save. That was a beautiful save. Indigo played right into it.
Well, no, I legitimately thought that there would be more of a joke, and there was.
I know, I wasn't.
Yes, we know. You were way ahead of us. We get it, Indigo. You were way ahead of us. You're so AI, Indigo. When I think Indigo, I just think AI. We're just playing. We're just playing. It's rainbows and butterflies
I know,
today.
rainbows and butterflies. Where's the quilt?
Where's the quilt? Which has never been a quilt. It never has been a quilt. Who called it a quilt? What kind of moron calls this a quilt?
I thought that it was. He's calling himself a moron. Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, that's what I thought. I thought you.
You need a headset, and Jess needs to be in your ear. It's like, he's joking right now. Don't bite. I know you get stuck
I
on
knew
that.
you were joking. I just forgot who specifically you were calling.
I'm perfect, so I never call myself anything. Yeah, probably, definitely. Oh, right. Was that a shirt? What was that?
My pencil.
It's a pencil.
It's on the YouTube. I can get it out and dig for my pencil.
Oh, you're on fire. What's in this? What's in this? What's in that, Matt? Yeah, beautiful. Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. When you totally slam somebody, they have no idea what you're doing.
James is not that. James is back.
James is in the live chat.
James is watching though.
James.
Hi, James.
Everybody saying hi to James. We're saying some of us miss you. No, everybody misses you.
He said he was going to be back tomorrow. I thought today was the 6th.
No, I get you. I watched it like so long ago.
Today is my dad's birthday eve. Today is the
Young people, young people, young people. I need the right camera. Young people, young people. There's a new handout. Have you gotten it? There's a new handout. The last handout of the quarter. Please grab one if you don't have one yet. Thank you for being here. This is lecture number 17, the final lecture of the quarter. Rainbows and butterflies today. Profanity free, attitude free, snark free, nothing but love, hugs to everyone, gifts, all sorts of things. And that will continue after the lecture today. We will go out in the field. We will celebrate in almost 90-degree temperatures, exposures at Thorpe, and then we will continue to my backyard where there will be Bijou the cat, an oak tree, 8 yellow pens. I don't have enough for everybody, so we'll have to have a raffle of some sort. Calling dibs. Well, so there'll be arm wrestling, and there'll be a greased pig that we will wrestle with to make sure we get winners of the yellow pens. And there's no schedule, there's no whatever. You're welcome to just drop by whenever, okay? So text somebody if we're there. Nick, we ready to go? Okay. Nick is on time. He's more or less ready to go. So we have Courtney, we have Scene at least talking to the home crowd afterwards. Anybody else that wants to join, by all means. I normally do a bold open, and I have an exciting bold open. We're not limping into the finish now. This is big time stuff that I have for you. I had a great time in the last 12 hours putting this together, and there's exciting new things for me as well as you. So I'm so confident that I've got good stuff that I can not be bold right away. That's going to speak for itself. I just want to do a couple of final little kind of announcements. I'm not going to see you again, ever. Sabrina will be proctoring the final exam that will be in this room Tuesday of next week at 2 o'clock. That's been in the emails the whole time. And the exam will have 5 pages. There'll be a question at the top of each of the 5 pages. It will only be the second half of the quarter. Are there any questions, Nick, about the final exam? Okay, good. All right, so wonderful. So that's how we finish up the class. But my part of the class is to finish strong. I've got good stuff that's going to start right now. Bold open. I have your energy. The energy is great. I'm going to feed off of it. You ready? There's something called the Great Unconformity in the Grand Canyon. It's one of the most famous geologic features in the world. What is it? Can you put it into words? Nick?
It's basically when two rocks of varying ages sit directly on top of each other. So you have something of, 20 million years on top with something that's 15 million years old on top of it. So you're missing time.
Thank you, Nick. We have an unconformity, which is a gap in the rock record representing missing time. A gap in the rock record representing missing time. That's what an unconformity is. There are millions of unconformities around the world. A gap in the rock record representing missing time. But there's a great unconformity in the Grand Canyon. If you go to the Grand Canyon, this is a profile. Ignore the map of the Pacific Northwest. This is a side picture of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Here's a stick person, stick person, stick person. It's a sunshiny day. The Colorado River has carved the Grand Canyon. It's the bottom of the canyon. If you've been to the Grand Canyon yet, it's a wonderful place, of course. There's an inner gorge, a narrow inner gorge of the Grand Canyon, and then there's an outer gorge which is far wider. That inner gorge, you can't even see the bottom of the Grand Canyon when you're standing at the rim. That's how narrow and tucked in to the inner gorge the Colorado River is. The transition from the inner gorge to the outer gorge is the transition from old Precambrian metamorphic craton of North America to the overlying platform sedimentary layers that stretch from coast to coast. Normally, that's all that's been talked about in the Grand Canyon. But right there at the top of the inner gorge on the Tonto platform is the Great Unconformity. Do you have a guess for how much missing time there is with this Great Unconformity? Nick?
Billion years?
Even more than 1 billion years. 2.1 billion years of time is missing. 2.1 million, sorry, I screwed it up. 2.1 billion with a B. We have no rocks. In 2.1 frickin' billion years of time? That's a serious unconformity. That's the Great Unconformity. That's very exciting. So you can put your finger on that Great Unconformity at the top of the inner gorge, and it's a dramatic, dramatic place. Take that concept, please, and apply it to the Cascades, Jack. Jack loves this more than anybody else. Maybe you all love it, but Jack has been vocal all throughout the quarter when we get into this concept. And how do I want to do this? Our unconformity in the Cascades is certainly not as great as the great unconformity. We're not missing 2.1 billion years worth of time, but it is a significant unconformity, and I'm really talking about our entire class this spring, young people. I'm talking about our entire class. We've been essentially working with that unconformity without saying it in so many words. So I've used the color scheme from the scarf. We're not going to go through it all again, but in the bedrock of the Cascades, this is mostly review, but I just want to give you a new set of ideas that tie into this great unconformity concept. Obviously, this will come on Tuesday, so I'm taking my time to make sure you can see it. Exposed in the Cascades of the Pacific Northwest, especially in the Washington Cascades, there's bedrock that's older than 60 million years old, 50 million years old, 50 to 59 million years old, 40s, 30s, 20s. We've already done this. If you want the names, this is like Rimrock Lake Inlier. This is the Swauk Sedimentary Series. These are the early days of the Cascades. This is the Ohanapakash submarine volcaniclastic. Stumbled on that for some reason. Fife's Peak stuff in red with supervolcanoes like the Bumping River Caldera and the Bumping River Tuff. But goddamn, but son of a gun, we've got an unconformity where a bunch of rock is missing. And we jump from the 20s to less than 3 million years ago. It's not the great unconformity, but we do have a significant amount of rock that is gone. I'm building towards a major message. I'm involving you now. Where did the 2.1 billion years worth of rock go in Arizona? It went somewhere. I don't expect us to have the answer. It just went somewhere. What you want to take?
It was eroded.
It was eroded away. It didn't evaporate. The rock went somewhere. Are we really saying there's 2.1 billion years of time where nothing happened? Of course not. So we have massive amounts of stratigraphy that was once in northern Arizona and no longer is. Nick wants to try again. Nick loves Arizona.
What's the age of the rock it's sitting on?
Too much of a detour. I'm just saying, where do we think this stuff might be, Jack? Okay, Jack taking stuff from the Cascades. I don't think I want to go this far down the road. I think we're way. All I want to say is that this stuff was moved out of here and deposited somewhere else. If we take the current Colorado River system, we're dumping stuff into the Gulf of California. But I mean, we're so far back in time. Nick, this is more than 500 million years ago where we actually are doing this eroding. So we can even take present rivers and screw it up. All I'm saying is that stuff went somewhere. It didn't just get chewed away and it's like, it's just gone. It got recycled, remobilized, redeposited. Those raw materials went somewhere else. In the Cascades, we know darn well where that rock went. Blue. Cascades, yes. The Ellensburg Formation is the material that got chewed away, got eroded away out of the Cascades, but before the Ice Age. And yes, I want to use numbers of 20 to 3. If you go back to the first day of our class, where it was not 90 degrees outside, we set the time frame for our Geology 351 class. It was from 20 million years ago until 3. Or maybe I even said 16 million years ago until 3. But I'm using 20 now because I'm confident that some of our German chocolate cake was in the Cascades. Let's not get hung up on it, but I think there's more and more evidence that we have the great lavas, the Yakima basalts, that were up in today's Cascades. So do we see on a grand scale how the unconformity in the Cascades has everything to do with our entire study topic this spring? And I'll be more specific, and this is new now. I think I have this right. I keep hearing this from Gary Smith. I rewatched the Gary Smith interview. I got way more out of it again last night. I've already watched it like 4 times. I'm pretty sure I have this. There's not that much daysight in these older colors. I'm pausing for dramatic effect. And there's not that much daysight today, apparently. So our 20-3 was a daysight factory for some reason. For some reason, that chapter in the history of the Cascade Volcanic Arc, it may be an aberration, but the message I'm getting is that that was a major daysight time. These guys, the hornblende biotite daysites. And not just daysites, but frickin' microdiorites and tonalites and all these other words we're going to use today. So the new twist is that here we are in the Sela Basin, in the Nile Basin, out at Thorpe today. All these places that have the upper Ellensburg, that have rocks between 20 and 3, where there is no bedrock between 20 and 3. Plus it's daysight, this freak show daysight, which doesn't exist in the Cascades either. I love this kind of albatross angle. And that's where we are currently with the understanding of how unique this chapter of the Ellensburg Formation is. Reaction from you before we move on. That was a long, bold open, but I wanted to just take a new concept, plug it into what we've been working on for weeks now, but maybe it spurs a couple of new thoughts or new clarifications. Julie?
So erosion intensifies uplift.
I'm removing the uplift from the story necessarily, but we know that this is mainly responsible or mainly happening, the chewing away is happening because of a major uplift or series of uplift events. I'm just trying to back away from that right now. Yes, we've been consumed with that. I just want to address the fact that we don't have, last time we were hunting for daysight and trying to find these sources, and we're about to do it again. But it's a fool's errand, because there's just little scraps of things left. There's essentially no daysight. And the few little pieces that we can find are fun. We're about to do it. But it's not this robust thing where we're just finding these half-eaten volcanoes that just people have forgotten about that produce this stuff. The volcanoes are gone, more or less. The ghost volcanoes are truly full ghosts. And all we've got are a couple little shallow intrusions that we squint our eyes and look at. That's what makes this Ellensburg Formation thing fun and overlooked and also frustrating. More reaction before we go on to chapter 2. I got 4 acts today. I'm happy with that one. You want to move on? Okay. Sam. We're going to squeeze in Sam here. So Sam Van Lanningham is one of the first undergrads here that I talked into geology. And he was a character. He grew up in town. He was a musician. And I don't know if you're into music history, but you know the grunge scene and chapter, late 80s, early 90s, and Nirvana and Mudhoney and Screaming Trees and Pearl Jam and all that. Nirvana played a show at the Ellensburg Public Library in like 1988. Like there were 4 people there, blown out of their minds. Sam was one of them. He told me all these stories about Kurt Cobain like parking their van right on, what's the one that goes right, basically off of 3rd Avenue. I mean, so he was in a former life and not a particularly healthy lifestyle. And he found this geology thing and he put everything he had into geology like he put everything else into this musician lifestyle before. Joe, get some water if you need it. So Sam is the guy that I'm bringing to you. There's even a heart underneath Sam's name. That's new. I didn't draw that, I don't think. So I love Sam Van Lanningham too. He went on to get a PhD. So we finished with Sam, remember? And Sam's study, his senior thesis, which blows Carly's thesis out of the water, by the way, was saying something totally different than everybody else. What was he saying that was different? Can you put it in words, please? Indigo, you want to do it?
I think he used the term rogue tentacle.
That was kind of me. I said rogue tentacle, and I was talking about Sam's study. What was his big rogue anti-establishment message?
Found stuff that he connected to Bumping Lake up here in the Mid-Task Valley, even though the general story is that the stuff that you find in the basin is equivalent to something that was northwest of the basin.
Thank you, Indigo. Pretty much everybody that has looked at the upper Ellensburg in central Washington has said there's a main story of northwest to southeast with an tandem fence. And I think to date, this is the only study of upper Ellensburg that says I have good evidence that there are deposits on the north side of the tandem fence, and they match best, and even the crossbeds best match with the Bumping Lake area. Sean, did you want to add there?
Oh, no, you just mentioned last class that that's potentially saying that the fence was lowered.
To do this, if this is real, we can't have a big tandem fence. We need to be low or even non-existent, and we need truly a river valley. We truly need a river flowing to the northeast because he's got some lahars at the stone quarry at the base. If you're curious where this is, have you ever hiked to the Book in Menashtash? Have you ever driven up Menashtash Road, which is heading towards Menashtash Canyon? There's Mellerguide Road and Strand Road, and those dead end right at the face of an irrigation canal at the base of Menashtash. That's where Sam was doing the strat work. And you've got the thesis if you really want to get into it. Before I forget, new. Sam had all sorts of not all sorts, he had two dates, 10.3 and 10.2. He had all sorts of petrography and stratigraphy tying the Bumping Lake area to Stone Quarry. Ready for something new? Sexy. He's got a bunch of basalt cobbles that are not CRBs. And he tossed it in right at the end of the thesis. It wasn't the main part of his study. But he got coached up, or maybe he did a couple thin sections and got confused and said, I got to graduate. I'm going to be done with this thing. But he was suspicious, strongly suspicious, that his basalts were actually Yakima basalts. So you're like, what? Where else are you going to get basalt to be carried in this river from this area? And the quilt, back in orange time, is the basalt of Summit Creek, up by White Pass. Is it possible there are some White Pass basalts that are in this deposit, which is part of our unroofing story we were talking about a while back? So apparently there's a bunch of loose ends that can be followed up on with this stone quarry project. And if it was better, if it wasn't a bunch of private land, we would definitely go there this afternoon. But I just felt it wasn't worth our time. So that's a cute little twist on the rogue tentacle that gives you a sense of how far away we are from all sorts of detail. We good there? That was a little Sam interlude. Okay, I still feel the energy's good. You know where my street is, my street address is there if you want to come over to the backyard. Can I read that for you? 1072 Partridge Lane. Okay, so that's where I live. Good. All right. So we're heading to the Thorpe outcrops, but before we do that, two black blotches. You got this from last time? Here's me. Gavin, come on, get off the phone.
I'm writing down the address.
What is it, Partridge?
It was 1072.
1072 Partridge?
You forgot your address?
Yeah, I forgot my address. I've already been drinking wine this morning. This is the 4-page Gary Smith paper that you read for today. And I also gave you a handout on Tuesday of this map. So here I am sitting over some pork roast last night. I'm like, well, okay, I promised I was going to get into this Cooper Pass stuff because I noticed before our class on Tuesday that it's dotted at Cooper Pass. You're looking at the map. And I'm like, okay, So that's not a source. The black blotches are the sources. The potential dacite plugs, the 31 dacite plugs that we get, remember last time we got hung up on, like, are we really calling these things dacites if they are shallow intrusions? But I'm basically saying, where are the bedrock sources for these parts of the Ellensburg, and specifically, where are the bedrock sources for the Thorpe? We're ignoring Sam now. We're going to Thorpe. There's a 10.53 and a 10.02. And so far, I've had on this chalkboard Cooper Pass. Screw that. We're done with that. Cooper Pass is not a source. Why? So far. Why? According to this map. Why? Why is that not a source? Cooper Pass itself. It's dotted. It's volcaniclastic. I think there's lahars or something else. I'm a little down on Carly Prater's project because I read that carefully. She graduated last year, and she said Humphrey did a master's thesis and talked about the volcaniclastics and the lahars at Cooper Pass. I went to Humphrey's thesis, it's not in there. I don't know if she just made a mistake or she just was ready to graduate and said, whatever, I'll just toss in Humphrey. I don't know, but I was disappointed. So there is no detail that I've been able to find about the volcaniclastic pile, the sediments, whether they're debris flow dumps or medial or whatever, hyperconcentrated whatever. At Cooper Pass itself, no. But I got good stuff. I got good stuff from old emails that I found this morning, from new emails that I panically sent, is that a phrase? Last minute email help. I sent to Jeff Tepper, Tom, who's a viewer, Andy Miner, who's a local savant, and Andrew Sadowski. And I said, fellas, 2 black blotches, where is this? These are sources that I think must exist. Where are they? What are they? The answer is the Hausen andesite, which I've never really heard about until today. I'm not going to write it down. That's the new handout today. So this is all so fresh, I forgot I even printed this out. So this is from truly an hour and a half ago. Tom, a viewer. Thank you, Tom. Lottie Roddy. I'm just going to have to do this verbally for you. So this is a new ghost volcano location for the material at Thorpe, Washington. And I know most of you haven't explored much around Cle Elum, so I'm going to try to just describe this in case you really want to go. You're looking at a geologic map custom made by you over the breakfast table from Tom in Maple Valley. Tom got online, he found a geologic map, and I've labeled a few things for you. Cle Elum Lake. Okay, does that mean anything to you? So there's a little town called Cle Elum. So we're all going out to Thorpe on the old road, Highway 10. Halfway between here and Cle Elum. There's a town called Cle Elum. It's changing dramatically in the last few years, but whatever, okay? So get through Cle Elum, then keep going north, and you get to a little mining town called Roslyn. Has anybody been there? Okay, Roslyn, good. Keep going. Now you're through Roslyn, and you're going north yet. You're going up into the hills. And there's a big, long lake called Cle Elum Lake, north of Roslyn. It's a reservoir. Go all the way to the north end of Cle Elum Lake. Now you're on this geologic map. And there's North Peak off to the west, and there's Sass Mountain off to the east. Made of Townsend andesite, which is dacite. I wasn't barking up a weird tree. That's real. Let me do it. With emails I'm about to read to you, everybody, even the pros, are just casually saying, I'm going to make a geologic time scale on a map. Rocks. Stop talking, just write. Igneous rock classification chart. Slow down, boy. Basalt, andesite, dacite, rhyolite, upstairs, right? We've already done this. What's downstairs? Gabbro, diorite, tonalite, granite. You with me? We've been on the hunt for dacite. We have a dacite factory on the back of this chalkboard. But I think I think one of the main things I've learned in this last portion of the class is that dacite is almost slang. Here's Jeff Tepper by email last night. I'll ask my question to him. Jeff, who is a longtime petrologist, has done major amounts of work. I featured him in a downtown lecture in April. Jeff Tepper, a quick reminder from you before I go to bed. If you've worked on the Townsend andesite, see below for context. I keep hearing dacite intrusions and microdiorite from folks who map Miocene sources for the upper Ellensburg. And the dacite porphyry solidified 1 to 3 kilometers depth. Remember this from last time? Jeff, I don't get it. Dacite means volcanic rock to me, like a lava flow instead of a shallow intrusion. What am I missing? Here's Jeff, like a half an hour later, last night. Nick, dacite implies 63 to 69% silica, but the texture can vary as long as it's not entirely coarse-grained, in which case it'd be granodiorite. Even at 3 kilometers depth, the cooling rates can be fast enough to produce a fine-grained texture, particularly if there's a sill or a dike, or if the samples are near margins. I've never worked on the Townsend andesite, but these little exposures could be subvolcanic bodies. Subvolcanic bodies. So I think dacite, granodiorite, which is plutonic, diorite, which is plutonic, tonalite, which is plutonic, can all be lumped into this source business. So if anybody really feels like they want to start hunting, I'm talking to viewers who are watching this now, and you want to come major in geology someplace, and you want to do a senior thesis on some of this stuff, you could just start looking for bedrock sources in the Central Cascades that are labeled tonalite, diorite, granodiorite, dacite, any of that stuff, and have it be between 20 and 3. Remember our unconformity? As far as I'm concerned, that's a potential source for this ghost volcano, but I'm leading to a point, and here it is. And then we'll open it up, because I think some of you are confused right now, which is fine, temporarily. I almost did it before I printed these out, but I chose to keep it. There's enough busy stuff going on already. Here's Lake Cle Elum Lake, bottom half of your handout. I just want to do this. And I want all these little Sass Mountain, North Peak, Miocene tonalites. You see what Tom has done? He says, hey man, we got some tonalites, which are technically plutonic rocks, that are also of the right age. I want to lump them all together and put a big dash circle around the outside. What do you think I'm doing? What is this dash circle, Nick? It's a ghost volcano. It's a cone volcano and possibly a footprint. If you get nothing more from today or this week or possibly the whole class, it's maybe here on the last day. As of 3 hours ago, I'm imagining a big stratovolcano sometime between 20 and 3 million years ago, right here. It's standing not up at Cooper Pass. It's standing not over by Mount Rainier. It's standing not by Bumping Lake. At least for the volcaniclastic stuff in our valley, ignoring Sam, I think it's standing right here. And you're like, why? And I think the leap for me is to not visualize these Miocene tonalites or these Hausen andesite / dacites as little lava domes. The leap forward for me from last time, Nick, is that all of these are shallow level portions of a magma chamber, or shallow little dikes and sills that are sitting above a big magma chamber. But to me, it's tremendously exciting because, oh, that's new right now. That's new right now. I'm yelling. I haven't sworn yet. Cooper Pass, get it out of my face. Instead, right above Lake Cle Elum, put a stratovolcano and then give me a tentacle right there. We've got more than a tentacle. We've got part of the magma body that was underneath the cone. And you're like, I think I need more. It's like, you're not going to get more, man. We've got an unconformity. It's almost all gone. But I can see it now, really for the first time, with a specific place just north of Lake Cle Elum. Some of you might know Salmon-Lassac. It's a beautiful area. It's way too popular in the summer. That's in the heart. That's in the guts of this stratovolcano, this ghost volcano. Reaction, there has to be a reaction from that. Gavin.
Now, if we had the same volcano doing this with diorite in our area, do we have it on the other side, on the west side as well, or it's dumping from the diorite over there?
Another email coming, Gavin, to answer your question. Gavin wants to know about tentacles going the other way. Do we have a match on the west side? We're getting questions now like, where was the crest? That's a question. Where was the actual topographic divide for the Cascades at this time? And by the way, do we have any dates? I do have a date. I gave you the sexiest part. But if you want to add to your colorful handout from Tom, Andy, the savant, graduate of this program, now just kind of hanging out at home, got a date from North Peak. So he went up and sampled, just for fun, the andesite/dacite at North Peak. You ready? 9.6. We got a 9.6 bedrock source at North Peak, which, if you're asking me, is just one of many spots that potentially talk about a footprint of a ghost cone. Hausen Peak, not on this thing. Sass Peak, somebody 40 years ago got a 6.2 date. But we're mostly suspicious about dates that old, I think. But to be complete, there's been one half-assed date off of the Hausen andesite at Sass Mountain 6.2 million years ago. But Gavin wonders about the west side. I've name-dropped Paul Hammond a few times, and I don't normally do that, but Paul Hammond spent 50-plus years mapping every summer in the Cascades. Joe, you're not with us today. Please come back. And Hammond was super into all of this and was mentoring student after student after student and open to anybody who just had curiosity about it. So he was open to me. This long before YouTube and everything else. 2008. Email from Paul Hammond after I bug him a little bit about the Ellensburg Formation. So 2008, we're almost 20 years ago now, right? Nick, I've got no new information for you about the source of the Ellensburg Formation other than what is reported and summarized in the senior thesis by Sam Van Lanningham at CWU and a master's thesis from Portland State by Chris Humphrey, 1996. There are a number of dacite/silicic andesite domes, confusing, I don't like that word dome, remnants of a domal volcano, I don't like that either, sorry Paul, he just passed away, so rest in peace, to the west, close to the crest of the Cascades. There are, Nick, 4 large ones, diameters of 1 kilometer or more, that have been dated at 10 million years ago, similar to those dates reported by Sam. I'm presuming that the Crusher Canyon section, you remember it? Chris and company showed up late, that quarry in Sela, that's the Crusher Canyon location. Paul Hammond says, I presume that the Crusher Canyon section is about the same age as Sam's stone quarry. There are bedrock domes at Pear Butte, adjacent to Pear Lake, Bumping Lake. Ridge of Deep Creek, south of Bumping Lake. 2 domes in Union Creek, just north of 410 and east of Chinook Pass. And Crystal Mountain, the ski place between the South Puget Sound and Rainier on 410. There's a bunch of Ellensburg Formation there. bedrock source. When and if there is sufficient detailed mapping along the crest of the range, in the Cascades from Goat Rocks to the Columbia River, more sources of the Ellensburg will be found. I've come upon Ellensburg-like deposits in my wandering in the area. The basaltic rocks that Sam describes are chiefly basaltic andesites, even the ones with olivine phenocrysts. They all could have been derived from the Fifes Peak Formation, red. In a year or so, like by 2009, I'll compare and plot Sam Van Landingham's analysis with different Fifes Peak volcanoes I've identified. None of these dacitic basaltic domes intruded the Fifes Peak. I don't think he ever did it, or if he did it, he never published it. So, come on, man. There's a lot of good stuff that remains in this story. More from you before we do the final chapter in the last 10 plus minutes. We must have more. Luke.
I just kind of had a question about like right around, or I guess just a little bit lower in elevation from the ghost volcanoes that we're looking at right now. Do we see dacite like in the lake, or not dacite, but andesites and andesite in the lake or in the river, falling away from the lake, like reflows right there?
Luke wonders about other exposures. You're talking about the Cle Elum Lake area?
Yeah.
I think this is pretty much all we have, Luke. So many of these colors are far older. Basalt, Teanaway basalt, Swak Formation, Chuckanut. This is all exotic bedrock that's tens of millions of years older than our class. And just these few exposures are what we have, and I don't think we have a whole lot more. So yeah, you'd like a big lava flow or some other things to help us pinpoint that ghost volcano, but we got more than one. We got more than one. That's basically where we've been lately with some of this. Scene.
Is this new idea, is this complementing Sam's work, or is this competing?
Thank you. Scene wonders, is this jag I'm on right now competing or complementing Sam's work? It's a totally different story for sure. This is a source that I'm excited about that exists northwest of much of what's at Thorpe. And so I'm excited because I think the next generation of work, possibly you and Ariel, would be taking some of this Thorpe stuff and tying it more specifically with some of these things on this colorful map that I don't think Bree or Ariel know about, I'm guessing. The Sam thing, I don't know what to do. That, to me, that's a different story. I don't know if it competes, but there's enough here to do a similar matching of source and deposits and ages and everything else. You wouldn't start from scratch. There's already been work on it, but to me, it's hunting for these sources, and I don't even want to put a dash. I know the cone's gone, but I want an outline of cone, man. I want to say this thing was here from 9 to 7. And then here's another cone here. And it was existing from 12 to 10. Remember, there's a 2 million year lifespan? To me, that's the goal. And from a storytelling point of view, that would be the most fun part of this. So to answer your question another way, potentially this will be a very clear ghost volcano outline at the north end of Lake Cle Elum. And if there's more work done on Sam's deposits, including those weird basalts, and we can find 5 more little things that are a perfect match in age. Remember, we never have these ages matching like we want them to. I don't think that's unreasonable to get that. So maybe that's what I want to do, Scene. Perfectly phrased question. Thank you. I think if there's 2 stories in our valley, I want 2 separate cones beautifully outlined. Good luck doing that before I pass away. Rainbows and butterflies. We still have time for the last act. Thank you for your input. Getting ready for Thorpe. Hello. Using Tuesday's work, refining it a bit, and setting up our detailed work out at Thorpe. We don't need this anymore, I don't think. So this was last night. My wife is like, wow, it's the last class. You're still at it? I'm like, I think I can just I can nail this. I've always wanted to do this. Just give me another few hours. It's like, okay. Wow, it's weird. You're working. I'm always working at home. I love it. I just love it. I'm going to give away my yellow pens today, but I'll find more. Okay? So, I'm going to, let me give you a number. I think I want to take my time after class with the home crowd, and we've got Courtney and Scene, and maybe even a couple others will talk. So let's have a meeting. I'm going to change it. I'm going to meet you at Thorpe East at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're carpooling. Be ideal if some of you could climb in with each other. And I'll describe right now what the difference between Thorpe West and Thorpe East is. Most of you have been out in Geology 101 to the Thorpe exposure. Most of you in 101 have gone to the major exposure with tons of parking, and I'm calling that the major exposure of the Thorpe Cliffs West. But the Google Maps pin I sent you in the email is for East, which I rarely stop at. And the video I had you watch for this week was from East. And it's a smaller exposure, so I'm calling it minor. So I'm going to meet hopefully like half a dozen vehicles, if we can consolidate, 2 o'clock this afternoon at Thorpe East. Are we communicating? That's the Google Earth, the Google Maps pin that you have in the email. Okay, so what did I spend so much time on last night? I'm going to bring these along in case you really want the detail. I think Scene will want it. I've got a strat column from Gary Smith that I found in a rare paper, and it took me a while to even realize that he was describing West. And he's got one date, 10.53 million years ago, from the big giant pink ball that I always talk about when I take 101 kids out there. We'll find it if you don't know what I'm talking about, but this is the major exposure. There's a huge beach ball that's got light gray blocks in it. And Gary Smith says that's a debris flow dump with a big broken piece of a pyroclastic flow within it. Like this whole thing is just a clod of pyroclastic flow that got rafted in. And somehow he got up there in the mid-1980s and sampled one of those blocks and got a 10.53 million year old date. It's the only date we have from that whole Thorpe exposure. Carly Preeter, who I've been too hard on today, did a senior thesis from this exposure to the east, and that's where we're going to start. She's got one new date from the very base, and she's got it colored in her paper, which is online, 10.02. Now, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking these two things are from our ghost volcano at the head of Cle Lake. I'm greedy. That's what I want. And you're like, well, no, you got the number. The number you just told me for what up there at the head of Cle Lake was 9.6. That doesn't match. Close enough, baby, okay? We got plus or minus. We've got different dating techniques. We could go back and get a bunch more dates in this stuff. But that's why I'm pumped about the Salmon-Lesac area. Okay, many of you are hustling here because I have a bunch of detail. I don't know if you can just take a picture of this after class, if you don't want to write it all down now, but I think this will be helpful for us in the field. We're mainly going to look here, and I think I see what Carly's seeing. She's got the pyroclastic flow right down by the road. It's mostly just a bunch of pumice. I cut my teeth on pyroclastic flows with the Yellowstone hotspot track, which I told you about a month ago. Those are dense, glassy, vitric tufts. They're not frothy little pumice balls. So if this is really what a pyroclastic flow looks like in the Cascades, I'm listening, but it surprised me that that's what it looks like. Before I forget, sorry, I'm distracted. Gary says that these Thorpe outcrops are way, way more pumiceous than anything south of the Mtanum fence. You go to Sela, Nile, Natchez, you go to any of that stuff, there's a little bit of soft pebbles here and there, but he says this is a different animal as far as pumice is concerned, which is an interesting comment. I don't know what it means, but just the sheer amount of pumice in addition to dacite is striking for these east and west outcrops. All I've tried to do here is remind you of what we did on Tuesday about we're proximal, we're closer to the ghost volcano. We have debris flow dump, which is matrix supported because we don't have much time. So we'll look for those matrix supported deposits, the DFDs. As we get more than 20 miles away from the ghost volcano, now we're medial, we're further away. We're now, well, you tell me from Tuesday, do you have it in your notes? What's the difference, water versus rock content here versus here? Debris flow, more than 80% rock, less than 20% water, remember? Therefore, bulkier, doesn't travel as fast, probably, I would say. Here we're 50-50, water and rock. So we've got more water involved in the story. We're a hyper-concentrated flood flow. And so I've tried to show you in these little cartoons that we are class supported now with our HCFs, our hydro-concentrated flood flows, hyper-concentrated flood flows. And Carly's got just one of those. Then she's got a bunch of quiet rivers, which I'm just trying to cartoonishly show. We just got layers, we've got cross beds like crazy. We have all sorts of flow. It's just kind of normal, quiet river stuff. We've ignored to this point, but at least I was confident in identifying this, a big old thick soil. A paleosol is an old soil horizon. In my mind, mostly a bunch of loess, wind-blown loess, silt that piled up. And from my work out in the channeled scablands, I know what loess looks like. I know what these old calcretes and these old paleosols look like. And so I was surprised and happily surprised that I'm like, okay, I know that lahar, that's easy. And I think the next thing I think I'm confident in seeing is this frickin' paleosol. It's this beautiful tan thing. You'll see it in a few minutes. The others, the subtleties between quiet river and hyper-concentrated flow, I can't see the difference. Maybe you'll be able to see it. I'm down into the weeds now for one main reason. Is there a lateral continuity between these two outcrops? I mean, we will park here at 2 o'clock, and we can literally walk over to here. And assuming this is all coming from Salmon-Lesac, I would assume that this lahar is somewhere over here, like 100 yards away. But this date is older than this. Is this date rotten? What's up? That's why the question mark's there. And we'll go to Beatus Road, which is to the north of these two exposures, and we'll probably ask the same kinds of questions. I wonder if the lahars at Beatus are this, or this, or this, or whatever. Depending on who shows up this afternoon, depending how fun we are, I've got a secret summer spot that I don't share with anybody, but I would be happy to share it with you. That could be a little bonus stop to see a few more of these DFDs that are at river level, below the road, basically. It's a place that I sneak off to in the summertime when it's too hot to do anything else. And what do I do there? It's none of your business. Questions here? We're just setting up our field experience, our last field experience of the quarter. My hunch is the answer is no. And so, finishing thoughts for the entire class, young people, I'm back to the bold open. And I'm hoping to confirm with you what we were trying to do in this class, in case you've forgotten. This whole class was an experiment. I wanted to challenge myself to teach new content without any pictures, without any animations, without any slides, without any movies, to just do it with pieces of slate and pieces of chalk, and to try to get honest-to-God organic discussions going in the class. And all of our discussions were within this blue wedge, and I might remind you that a month ago, we also had some red cobbles. So not everything was Cascade yes, a bunch was Cascade no, the first half of the class. But that's also in this wedge, our Hell's Canyon stories, our Cougar Point Tough, and so on. I don't know if you feel like we got where I wanted to go with the challenge, but I feel like this is what's missing in many of our classes these days. Whether you felt I was too hard on you, or expected too much of you, or called on you, or whatever, I don't know how you're feeling about all that. But enough of you caught wind of what we were trying to do, and just embracing the curiosity and the fun of exploring new things together from new and old papers. That's where this ultimately lands. And if we take another class at some point, you'll get the same experience, I hope. That's the end of Geology 351. Thank you for your attention. Let's get some folks talking to the home crowd, and we will see you all later on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We'll see many of you at 2 o'clock out at Thorpe. Very good. Okay. My necklace flipped over upside down. Hopefully you were able to hear me through much of that. And let's get at least 2 students on camera that you have not heard from before. Scene, who you've seen every time, but you're going to see Scene for real. And Courtney, who asked for dibs to be able to speak with you today. And then I'll go ahead and follow those guys up and talk a little bit more with you one-on-one. Okay? Great. Sure.
I'm a little confused with the upside down rainbow thing. So are we seeing the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in the Ellensburg formation too?
Let me get these guys started, and can I talk to you about that in the chalkboard? Courtney, ready for you. Scene?
Yeah. Oh.
Scene, Courtney, put this in front of you. You guys look right up in the camera. And I've got an iPad. Perfect.
Good.
Perfect. Well, for starters, don't be distracted by the iPad. Why don't you just introduce yourselves, where you're from, how long you've been going to school here, what you're hoping to get out of the class, and then eventually there's a little delay, but you can answer some questions.
You want me to go first?
Please.
Okay, I'm Courtney Johnson. I'm from the Sunnyside Valley. I've been here for about 2 years now. I transferred from a small college in Utah.
Hi, I'm Steve O'Hara. I'm from Forks, Washington, so the west side. Central is a new experience to me since September of last year, where I transferred from Evergreen. I am a junior geology major. So.
All right. Someone's asking if this is live. This is live.
Very
Yes.
much so. It's been an experience, to say the least.
Yes, hello, Wonders Craft host, Testing Courtney. Any tell the areas of study, home to study geology. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that this class is ending. I feel like it's definitely was challenging and very different than any class I've ever taken for its own reasons, but I always enjoy Nick's passion and excitement when he's teaching. It definitely makes me feel more engaged and like I should be excited, and I am excited about these things. So.
Yeah, I'm also sad to see this class end, but I always felt like I was one step behind Nick. But when I watched the videos, rewatched the videos, getting ready for like exam prep. Yeah, nice.
Our hopes
I
and
definitely was able to connect the dots and felt way better about it. I think it's just in the moment kind of experience can be a little bit overwhelming to me. So yeah.
Let's preach. What are your hopes and plans for the future? I don't really know. I would like to get a job. I think dream career, I would really like to work with like safety and risk and hazard assessments and things like that. I talked to a really cool guy from the state, forgetting his name now. I think James, and like the projects he's working on, like along the coast side and stuff. And I would like to do something that would help communities feel safe.
Yeah, so again, like I said, I'm a junior. I have one more year here, and then I'm interested in pursuing grad school. I'm interested in igneous meteorology. I'm not sure where that will take me.
Yes.
Potentially PhD program, just depending, like, you know, the current climate of things, if that's feasible or not, and then if anything, you know, master's program. So it just depends on where it'll take me, whether I stay here or somewhere else. So.
That's so tough. What are your hopes / plans for the future? I don't know.
Oh, thank you.
Also, someone said we're fantastic, so that, you know, I think
Think
we all really
independently with
need that
Nick
ego
a
boost.
challenge. Thinking independently with Nick a challenge. Yes.
Are you going?
Southern Utah is my favorite place to explore. So what attracted you to leave Utah for
Go get my boots.
CWU?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I was in the Ephraim part, and I took some awesome geology classes there and got to go out to Moab and some other places. I was just there because it was COVID time, and most colleges here were, I was here when like Central kind of like shut down for a little bit, and so I don't know, I just dipped over there. And I came back because I am Washingtonian, and I also took only one class from Nick, and I was like, I know I want to do geology, so I gotta come back here, so. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Eddy was great. We actually had a little bit of a gathering after his seminar, and so we could ask further questions. We also were able to meet him during the GEOL Club, like kind of an event, which we usually also have on Fridays. So it was nice. It was a pleasurable experience to see where like the type of experience that he has as a professor at a prestigious college, and the type of research that he's doing. It's just incredible. So. Yeah, I couldn't say more about that. It was a wonderful experience.
At your house, between 4 and 7, and I'll be at
Oh yeah, so I'm in isotope geochemistry with Hannah currently. Also another great class, and volcanology next year. I'll be taking with her, so looking forward to it. This is my 4th class with Hannah. So.
I love Hannah.
Yes.
Hannah's great. I hope to take a class with her this fall quarter. Emphasis. John Markin had a comment about how this class is like a graduate level and how useful the papers and interviews were. The papers that I did read and the interviews that I did watch were all very useful. I really liked the interviews. I especially liked the one with Barbara. I found that very enticing. She definitely had a passion and knew what she was talking about, and it was just exciting to hear, like, not her rambling, but just like building on and on of like this information. And it was nice to like be at home and be like, oh yeah, this is exciting, and then take that to class. So I did like that.
Somebody's asking me about how to spell my name. Seane, Shawnee, I guess. Yeah, so I think graduate level classes. Yeah, I think that's how you prepare for graduate level classes and getting into grad school is the type of work that we do here. Upper division courses, they're challenging because there's like a lot of open-ended questions that you're asking, and you're asking your professor along with 30 other people, and so even though it's less than, say 400 people at a bigger college, but your time is limited with them, but also you struggle with the type of questions you're asking, and so I think that is a great way to prepare you for these type of graduate level classes in the future. I think I wouldn't ask for any different way of doing it, even though it's stressful at times for sure.
Yes, some other people were making comments about that. I feel like I've kind of had classes similar to this, not as like to the level of doing our own like independent time, kind of researching and piecing things together outside of class, but definitely a common theme in this geology department, which I love, is, well, I like lost my train of thought.
It happens.
I guess like is a style of teaching where like we try to do a lot of like classroom work and like we think off of each other and build off of each other, and I really like that engagement besides like, other than like just sitting in class and staring at a board and one person talking the whole time. So it's like new to this level with Nick, but not like with the other geology classes that I've had. So
Yeah, for sure. In Isotope, we're currently looking at, we sampled at the beginning of the class certain rock formations we were interested in, and I sampled from Ohanapakash. And so we did some laser ablation, we did some ICPMS work, and so we're taking the data and trying to extrapolate what we understand is what's happening and the composition of it, and I'm struggling with it. I really am. Like looking at like spider diagrams and these bivariate diagrams. It's very new and overwhelming, but exciting at the same time, because there is a lot of work that is left to be done here, and the fact that we can do that as undergrads is pretty incredible. So I'm excited, overwhelmed, but excited.
Everyone is very kind. I appreciate everyone's positive thoughts and good lucks and good wishes.
Thank you.
I feel like this class has definitely left me with questions. I guess that was like another challenging part of this class is we don't have answers for some of these things yet. So it's like encouraging, but also like, I want to know.
Thank you both.
Yeah, it was great.
Sweet.
Absolutely, thank you.
There's actually a picture I want to take. Someone referenced something for me to check out.
Okay, good. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Take care. Yes, I would have walked right out of the class with it.
Thank
Oh,
you.
shout out to John Ogden
I'll meet you
for the
outside.
Geological
My car is
Society
kind of
thing.
close
I
to where
will be
we
checking
normally
that out.
park the vans.
Oh, okay.
In like 1:30 or something.
Yep, sounds good. Thank
Okay,
you.
you bet. You wanted to take a picture?
I did. I
You
got
did?
it. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
All right. Thanks, Nick.
very good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, see you, Courtney.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
So these guys thought it was maybe a little stressful to chat with you, but they did it. They did it. Let me grab my iPad. I'll answer as many questions as you want to ask. This is our last live stream for quite some time, so I want to take a few extra minutes just to slow down and check in with whomever still happens to be out there. Looks like we still have about 400 viewers. And we'll just see what you want to talk about. I'll say a couple of comments here at the end, similar to what I said at the very beginning of today's broadcast. It's been an intense stretch, more so than normal. If you remember your school days, or even if you ever were a school teacher, you remember the end of a school year and how frantic things are and how the energy is often weird and stressed, and the best is not coming to the top with a lot of people because of the stress and because of the burnout and everything else. And in my particular case, many of the regular viewers here, I'll get to your comments in a second, I promise. Things were normal until mid-November, and then you might remember we had an emergency with our family, and so things were thrown, we were thrown a major curveball, and we're in a hospital for a few weeks, and then recovery at home. And so I'm sharing all that again because I'm reflective a little bit today, because from mid-December until now, it feels like it's been a lot of live streaming, a lot of dedicated scheduled work, which I have enjoyed. I always enjoy a schedule, but it's time for a break. It's not a break from geology, but it's a break from these scheduled live programs. So will I do a few live programs this summer? Probably, just because I enjoy it so much. We did the Idaho mini-series last August and September, if you remember. But it'll be a while. So we're taking advantage of this last time chatting together. So uppercase, if you're new to us, I guess. And I will scroll back and try to grab a few things here from you. Do I think all the students will pass 351? Most of them will. A few of them have expressed concern about their grade, and my response has been, there's no evidence you're doing anything. You don't come on the field trips. You don't participate in class. You failed the midterm. I'm supposed to pass you? Well, yeah, because I'm really concerned. How about you put some effort in? How about is it possible to see you burning some calories? That's really all I'm asking for. And a few of them, geology majors, by the way. What are my hopes and plans for the future? I'm not sure that's for me, or maybe it's for one of the students. It's probably for one of the students. I hope to keep teaching. Honorita, what do I like more in geology? I like to stay in Washington, and I like to just keep learning new things. So I'll be on to something else. Washington, but I'll be on to something else. Starting soon, probably. Saber says, Southern Utah is my favorite place to explore. What attracted you to leave Utah for CWU? I've told this story a number of times, Saber. I'll say it again right now. I discovered teaching when I was in graduate school, and it was not easy, but it felt natural. It felt just like I should do it. It's almost like dating. You date a bunch of different people, and it's fun, but it always feels like it's work somehow. Like, I think I can make this work with this person. Maybe I can make it work with this person. And then you just meet somebody where it's just super easy and super natural. And it's not even a decision. It's like, you obviously should be together. And that's what I felt long ago when I met Liz, and that's the way I still feel about her. And I feel the same way about teaching. It's just always felt natural. And I have a lot of practice, but it's always just been fun and natural. And so I have no interest in doing anything else. So our first teaching job was in Ohio. We both had great jobs in Oxford, Ohio, and we had our first child, who now is a father himself. And Liz said, we got to get out of here. We got to move back west, or we're going to get stuck with kids in school and babysitters, and it's going to be impossible for us to leave. So Liz is the one to say, we're leaving. We're going to resign at the end of the school year. We're both going to go out west. And we came out to the Pacific Northwest without any job prospects at all. And we had a baby. And we had just a few $1,000s in our checking account. And my parents thought I was crazy, for sure. You leave 2 jobs? You just turned 30 years old. You're quitting your jobs and moving to a place where you don't have a job? I'm like, I think it'll work out. And it did. So that's why I moved to the Pacific Northwest, Saber. I knew the geology was excellent out here. I guess I should clip this back on. Taking my time because I'm not going to see it live for quite some time. Retired science teacher, just found this feed and wish I could take this class. Well, they're all available in replays. I have a YouTube channel, Sir or Madam MN. Welcome. I'm glad you found us here. That's the beauty of doing these live broadcasts. They all remain. So you can take a whole class. You can start Geology 351 this afternoon if you want. And that was back in early April. And there's another Geology 351 that I did 4 years ago. And those are all available to watch in replay. And all the scientific papers are still on my website, nickzentner.com. You click on certain things in the heading. And that's the design of this, that these are live, but they also remain. And it's like binge watching your favorite show on Amazon Prime or whatever. Like, I'm overwhelmed with all the programs that we have on Hulu and stuff. Why are we even paying for this? I never take the time to watch anything. But on my website, nickzentner.com, and my YouTube channel, the name of the YouTube channel is simply Nick Zentner. Obviously you know that, you're here now. I still hear from people that say, I just found your stuff and I'm working my way through the Baja BC alphabet and mega whale and all the jokes and props, and some people even talking about my backyard with the 3 frogs and all that. So welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you find. Patrick, what are my key takeaways from 351, the perspective of Cascades A to Z? Are there any questions that you want to work on this summer? Thank you, Patrick. I forget what I said at the beginning of this 351, but I thought maybe we were going to do some modern geology stuff, modern Cascades. We never got there. So I think that's the next logical field. I need to decide if I'm going to do a new alphabet on modern Cascades. I think I could easily do that. And that would be the natural follow-up, because we're kind of cutting off our discussion at 3 million years ago. So maybe I'll just be locked into Cascades geology, everything but the kitchen sink younger than 3 million years. And talk about volcanic hazards and all sorts of other things. I don't know. Terry, would you like to see a collaboration with Canadian geologists, maybe a mini-series on the Columbia River? Thank you. Maybe nothing formal, but thank you, Terry. One of the things I'm doing this summer, I'm going to Wisconsin to visit my mother next week. That's why I'm not here for the final exam. And then I'll be back for graduation circus stuff around here. And then I'm going up to British Columbia with Gary Paul, and we're going to spend 3 days with Jerome Lessman. And we're going to make some scouting videos for new episodes of Nick on the Rocks. And I think just being up in BC, British Columbia, with Jerome will get the juices flowing. And so, yes, I would like to do more with geology and geologists across the border, especially with what's been going on lately. Maybe there's more motivation than ever to get across the border. Thank you, Elaine. My plans with Hannah, Mike, etc. I like that video of the Spirit Lake Pluton team. I don't expect to see them again this summer. Mike has me on the NSF grant, and he figured out this time how to pay me for my time. So he said, yeah, I think we're going to, here's a check for all your work you've done with the Spirit Lake Pluton project in the alphabet, and then also when we hosted Mike here. So that said, I think we're doing one Dream Team video. The Dream Team in the North Cascades are reuniting for one last time. That's Bob Miller, Stacia Gordon, and Mike Eddy. I think we're doing that the second week of August. I'll probably film something there for that grant. Hannah has been working extremely hard, and so she's just basically looking to get through this quarter. And we haven't talked about this summer, but I'm hoping once the dust settles and we get into a groove this summer to do more with Hannah and the Goat Rocks project. I don't know what that would be, but it might be expanding into some of this stuff at Bumping Lake we've been talking about in this class. A few more and then I think we'll quit. Cynthia, any suggestions for the best way to learn how to identify rocks without having access to a geology lab? I've got books, but it seems much more complex than just matching to a picture. Thanks for this class. Thank you, Cynthia. Are you aware of Sean Willsey, Willsey? He has a YouTube channel. It's very popular. And Sean made videos from his 101 class. They were not live videos, but they went through all of his material, including a bunch on mineral and rock identification. That would be a good place to start. It's maybe my best tip there. Scrolling back for a few more. Then I gotta get into some shorts. Do I have an idea for this winter's A to Z? Will there be more from 2 projects this summer? Okay, well, the A to Z, I don't know. Thank you for the question. I don't know. I guess in a way I'm waiting for some inspiration from somebody or something in the next few months. Mike Eddy was just awarded a new NSF grant, multi-year grant for work in Alaska. And I'm on that project as well. So part of me is wondering if I should do Alaska A to Z this coming winter. Or maybe a stepping stone would be British Columbia A to Z this winter, to start translating some of our Washington stories into British Columbia, and then the following winter would be British Columbia into Alaska. So that would be an alphabet tied to the Alaska project specifically. I am still on the Goat Rocks project with Hannah Shamloo, and maybe I'll sit in our backyard with Hannah for a couple of summer nights and we can brainstorm about what she's excited about or wants to learn about in the Cascades that is younger and different than what I did this past winter. Obviously, the Cascades A to Z was mostly tied to my collaboration with Hannah Shamloo. So if she's like, oh, no, that was fine. Last winter was fine. I got all sorts of good ideas, and thanks. I got no more interest in following what you're doing or anything. If she says something like that, then maybe I'll move on. But maybe she'll be very excited about another alphabet tied to the Cascades somehow. So I'll just gauge her interest, maybe. It's maybe putting too much pressure on her, but it would be something like that to get me going. 3 more and we're done. Still got more than 350 watching. Baja BC, oh, interesting. A lot of people like BC A to Z. And people voting for Alaska A to Z. Okay, well, maybe I'll do a couple of live streams or programs this summer, just basically putting it up to a vote. I guess another thought would be Cascadia A to Z and do something with great earthquakes and volcanic hazards. I don't know. Taboodleful. What questions coming out of the end of this class are most interested to finding answers to aside from the ghost volcanoes? I think that's how we'll finish today. Thank you. I liked today. I don't know if it totally worked, but the energy was good today. And I think I like today because there's a specific visual for finding these ghost volcanoes of a particular age. That was a real improv time right at the end where I was drawing solid lines outlining the footprint of these cones. And I never really had that thought before, but that specific thought of placing a cone at a certain 2 million year window and then having a bunch of dacite and debris flow dumps and other things downstream that back that up beautifully, that is kind of the goal. And it just felt new for me to do it that way. I don't know if it is, but it felt new in the moment. So there's a chance I'll just keep going with some of this summer. Maybe I'll do a bunch of videos with the housing andesite and just try to visualize that and see where it goes. But as always, it's the reaction from so many of you that fuel me. And what did I used to get? 100 emails a day or whatever? I'm way down on that. So I can reply to many people by now. That is how we'll finish. So there's still strong attendance to this 351 thing. And again, I'm grateful to all of you who've been tuning in live and watching the replay. But the numbers are not as strong as when we do an alphabet. And can I say out loud before we quit why I think that is? Why I think the numbers are down a little bit for this 351? It's still way more than I ever had in a physical classroom, but you know, compared to other live streams and other programs, it's not a ratings smash. Well, I'm still not making any money off the YouTube thing. I'm fine with that, so that doesn't bother me. Here's why I think this might be a little bit less popular than some of the other things I've done. I'm not talking directly to you. I'm talking to these kids. So just that alone, it doesn't feel like I'm making a program for you. You're just literally a fly on the wall. You can't even see the students, and you can't hear the students oftentimes. So it just feels like there's a party happening in here twice. Looking back on it, it felt like there was a Tuesday and Thursday noon party, and you weren't invited, basically. You're just like watching as a fly on the wall. So why should I stay watching that if they're not even going to talk to me? Two, I don't think the content was too hard, and I think the science papers were just as normal as usual, and finding them and reading them. I don't think that was different. I think the content was particularly good. I don't think there was a drop-off in interesting questions or anything. But I've gotten a bunch of emails, people worried about me. And I appreciate your concern, whether it's comments here or comments in the live chat or comments whatever. They're like, I don't think I'm worried about Nick. He seems angry and burnt out and he seems so dark. And I think before we quit, I want to address that. I said it a little bit to these kids in the class today. This is not a freshman level class. And this is not a Nick on the Rocks video, or it's not even an alphabet from my office. There's a different tone from day one. And it's a tone of, intentionally, it's a tone of a football coach. Like I grew up in athletics. And I liked the coaches who were very good. They knew the game, they knew the sport very well, but they are also really tuned in to everyone on the team. And they could tell when you were in a bad mood, or they could tell when you were having a great practice. And it was a lot of this customized verbal and physical communication with the athletes on the team. And some of my best teachers that I remember, and maybe some of the best teachers that you remember, were so razor sharp and they were so tuned into the nuances of what was going on in that physical classroom that you remember that about them. Well, that's what I was trying to do here. And obviously I had some students that I was very fond of, and I continue to be very fond of them because they totally understood what the assignment was, and they were totally committed to it. And they were willing to speak out loud and think out loud and be creative. And they understood sarcasm and performance. And they also understood the interesting science. But there were some of these students in here that never understood it. They never got it. Because it's so different than anything else they've experienced. These are kids of the pandemic. And they are emotionally, socially behind. Still, 5 years later. You can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it. And so I feel like that is one of my roles here, is to demand certain things in a timely manner. And not everybody sees it that way. And I do feel like I'm swimming upstream in many ways along those lines. And it could be that just a few of us, I think Hannah Shamlu is another one, I think highly of her because she also holds the students to a high standard. And she's not afraid to just go for it with students. I think we need that. If universities are going to stay relevant, we need to showcase real teaching in real classrooms with real students, warts and all. And that's ultimately why I decided to live stream these programs. One of the main reasons is that this is the best way to communicate what goes on in a university setting. When so many people outside of a university setting are either neutral to universities or negative towards universities. And you know what I'm talking about right now. So I think if more and more people were able to see what goes on inside of a real classroom, they would be more willing to support the people who are doing the daily work. And my wife and I are both having nightly chats about this sort of thing because she's getting treated similarly by her coworkers. We're old people. We're both over 60. So in a way, we're talked to like we are old timers that have not been able to keep up with what's going on in education today. But we've never been better. I think I'd be happy to report to you if I had lost my fastball and I just wasn't able to communicate anymore. I think I would be honest enough to say that. But I don't think I've ever been better. And my wife has never been better with her students. And yet there's all this fake stuff, assessments and forms and layers of administration that are just a bunch of obstacles to real teaching. So are more people going to join our style of teaching, or is it just going to keep veering in this anti-reality direction that it appears to be going now? I think if it continues to go in that direction, places like this are just going to close up shop. Nobody's going to want to come and attend classes anymore. It's not real. Nobody cares. Some of us still care. Nick wants a ride on the field trip. We got room for you, Nick.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody. I need to give you a shot out the window to an empty campus. I say thank you, I love you, and goodbye from Ellensburg, Washington, USA. It's 1:30. I gotta go. See you next time. Window. All right, you got water?
Yes.
Okay. I'll meet you up by my white car. I think Julie and Sean are out there too. We got room for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.